You're about to listen to a discussion at the November Gambling Control Board meeting relating to taxation and accounting procedures used to monitor our local charities that are involved in pull tab and other form of charitable gaming that you as citizens have a right to see and need to make sure it's on your community channel as well as the Minnesota channel of public TV all across the state of Minnesota and run a number of times and passed on to all charitable gamers that do pull tabs in Minnesota as well as the organizations that provide gaming and provide services to our communities, something your legislature and the media empires don't want you to see. So listen very carefully. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members as well. I want to congratulate you first. I'm Ellen Repke, Inform TV and Radio. Congratulate you on a growing industry that you're involved in, and I commend you on your regulatory end. I'm here today to get some clarification of taxation and accounting, and as a press person trying to see that the public is informed on what is really going on. Tom, you mentioned that the media picked this up some, and I think I heard a little burp both on Fox as well as KSTP, and I think that they both kind of gave a misleading response to the public as far as what charitable gaming that you folks regulate, how it really works, and the money. I know Fox said, well, it looks like the stadium's going to get paid off early, and I find when I talk to groups that they really don't understand what's taking place with charitable gaming and really where the money goes and what it's used for. And I'm very pro what you guys are doing. I watch it in Alexandria, and it's good for the community. It's good entertainment for small bars and restaurants, and I want to keep it going. But my question to you, Mr. Chairman, or to Tom or board, whatever, is every business, to get the public to understand what really goes on in an industry, everybody is referencing profit. And you mentioned in your annual report here, Tom, that the net profit was $157 million this year on the first page of your report, or if you're watching it on your computer there, folks. And then when you go down to lawful purpose expenditures, it shows that the charities received $70 million, I'm rounding numbers here, and the state of Minnesota received $75 million in state income tax on a net profit of $157 million. And yet the way the accounting process works, and Tom can probably give me some clarification when I'm kind of giving you a scope of why I'm here. And then when you put in the local, federal, state unrelated business income tax, and that's unrelated business income tax is what I think it should be taxed as, all these numbers at 9.8% like other businesses are taxed. And then when you look at license and regulatory fees, we're looking at over $80 million of net profit of $157 million. That's a 50% of the revenue or profit of these organizations combined is taxation. And I'll pause a second and ask the chairman or Tom, under the accounting practice, who sets up, because I've looked at your website and that type of thing, who did the legislature by statute require you folks to use net receipts as the way of taxation rather than net profit like everybody else? Or where did we come to on that, Tom? Or Mr. Chairman, either one.
To your viewers? Or
Yes.
I'll address you. Yeah, it's good to have you here today, because I know you certainly take a good vested interest in both sides. And
Yes.
appreciate acknowledging record deal year, obviously benefiting not only the charities, the players, the borrowers that collect the rent, and of course the state with the taxes. As relates to taxes, as you recall, or we can direct you to, it is by law, the tax is based on the net receipts.
It is
Not
by,
net profit, yeah, by law.
so the legislature put that together, or the Department of Management and Budget, or how?
No, it's the law.
It's
the
was
legislative
legislative,
side. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And if you look in our annual report, we do talk about understanding the gambling taxes and how it's taxed, and reference as far as those provisions in law. So it is based on net receipts.
Okay. Is any other business in Minnesota taxed that way?
I'm not the tax expert, but I don't know. I mean, I know charitable industry is unique in that sense. They're providing a product. Would you agree?
Yes, but I don't think it's unique when it comes to taxation.
No, but would you agree that the item that is being offered for sale is a product? They're not selling a service. And the reason I say that, just different industries, different, barber versus accountants, right? They sell
Right.
service. But would you agree that what the industry is offering is a product?
See, that's one of the gray areas for me again. Is it a product or a service? You guys are providing a service to regulate it, but as far as, I'd have to think about that a little.
Well, I mean, do you see a pull tab, which is the primary function with charitable gaming? 93% of the sales is pull tabs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a pull tab similar to a lottery scratch ticket? Would you say that those are two products, two items of similar nature?
I look at them as different, and because the lottery stuff, people just walk in, throw when the big mega deals, I'll throw $2 down for those, but I don't participate in pull tabs. But I look at them because I sit at bars as a single person and watch my community and state. And I look at it as different, Tom.
Okay, and that's fine. I don't mean to belabor, but some of my focus does evolve back to the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an observation from either personally or being involved in the industry. But I would beg that if I'm paying $1 for a pull tab, or if I'm paying $1 for a scratch ticket, with the chance that I could win more than what I wagered, to me I would say that certainly appears to be two products of similar nature. And with that said, and regardless if you don't agree or not, that's fine. But my point is, if you're to look at the value tax-wise, the state lottery, right, provision in law, that is taxed what they call in lieu of sales tax. So you're not paying $1.06 6.5. You're paying $1, and out of that $1, the state is taking 6.5 cents as a tax. Now, compare to a pull tab on average, because again, it's a progressive tax. The more you sell, and the higher the rate. But if you take all the taxes collected by the state for the sale of that product, there is no upfront sales tax. And that's one of the things I think we talk corporate taxes and like. The point that's being missed here, and again, this is more personal, but knowing the industry, is there is no sales tax upfront other than on the raw product, raw material. A box of pull tabs for, we'll say $50 has a sales tax and like, or the devices that run the electronics. But when it comes to the sale of the pull tab or bingo sheet or raffle, there is no upfront sales tax. And so I think that's an important element, strictly speaking from the tax perspective. State's getting 6.5 cents of every $1 lottery ticket. They're getting roughly just under 4%, 4 cents on the dollar for every pull tab. So I don't know if that paints a picture for your benefit, your viewership, as far as, oh my God, what's being taxed. But this is where I think, should the charities be taxed? And that's up for discussion. I know we're representatives from the industry. yet again, at the convention last week, are proposing tax reform. That's good. We are neutral. The board is neutral when it comes to tax policy. When taxes are there, what's our authority? As you heard me talk earlier, we'll take issue with an organization that fails to report. They're not reporting, that means they're not paying either. So, but when it comes to taxes, we don't set the rate. We just follow what's in the law. And that's where in the annual report you saw, that's where it's coming at.
Thank you
So
very much.
thanks for the opportunity. I don't mean to belabor, but I know it's an
That's helpful, Tom. But when we go back, then you brought up the lottery, so I'll go into that. They get their 7% sales tax out of a ticket that sells for $1 or whatever it is. But their total taxation of money going to the state of Minnesota is closer to 50%, isn't it?
Well, now you're taking into account what happens to that net receipt. So I don't want to mix up the net proceeds of
But
lottery.
let's look at the lottery for
Well,
just a
can we
second.
not? I mean, this might be better.
But you
for-
brought it up, that's why.
Well, I agree. I'm just trying to.
But
compare
aren't I
taxes.
right when I'm saying about 50% of the money when you buy a lottery ticket goes to the state of Minnesota?
I don't know. I don't have the lottery numbers in front, so.
Are any of you board members want to comment on that or are aware of how that works? But at any rate, what I'm concerned about, and you rightfully brought up, what's the difference? When I sit at a bar or talk to an elk or Eagle Club members or Lion Club members, and these guys are playing pull tabs, both men and women, of course, and they look at the lottery totally different from what they look at and what you folks are regulating here. They look at it when they spend money, it's going to their local community. And when I bring up at the bar that, tell them I'm for, I'm not criticizing it all, I want you to play these games in the Alexandria area. But they're not aware that the Elks in 17 in Alexandria, the mission of the charity got to use $84,000. The state of Minnesota got $284,000. And Tom, you've clarified this before for me. Of the total taxation of $75 million for state income tax off of net receipts, whatever the term you want to use, anything above $36.9 million is going to pay off U.S. Bank stadium bonds, as well as add to that reserve. Because I think under statute, they take $10 million out of corporate tax. It's not dedicated like yours is here. But so in this case, we're going to build the stadium reserve big time, and yet at the same time, the mission of our charities is cut back significantly. And the other comment relating to, we have a new governor. In fact, I went to a news conference and I handed our new governor the top sheet from 17. I also handed to the head of the Democratic Party, Ken Martin, who on camera said he didn't know anything about it and it's not his business, but they do know about it now. And I, as a concerned citizen, are concerned about the taxation. I want the money to stay in the communities, and that's my concern. And then from you as a regulatory board, Tom, do you board members here, or your board, I should say, Mr. Chairman and Tom, can you change anything of your reporting sheet? I'll just throw it in front of my camera here a second so people know there is such a thing. And could you forget the stars? And is that in statute, or did you say put it up? I think for community charities as well as taxpayers of Minnesota, if you could forget the stars on at least one of your reports on gross receipts, and you go to net receipts, less allowable expenses, and put a profit line there, I think that would be very helpful for people to understand what you guys are regulating, and for the citizens to understand how their legislature and governor are taxing. So, because, like you said, you rightfully brought up different viewpoints of what is what, but citizens understand profit. And is that possible, Tom or Mr. Chairman, to add a profit column to your annual report?
Can you take that? Thank you. Again, on behalf of the chair and the board, the 5-star, I mean, again, there's different formats that we produce on our annual report, and for the benefit of your viewers, and if you can, what
Sounds
you're talking
good.
about is this column here.
Yeah, okay.
Zoom in.
Yeah.
Just bear with me.
I'm just seeing your fingers, so point.
Right here.
Yeah.
We're talking about this.
The stars.
Now, as you can see from this, I don't know what page we got, but
Doesn't
you see
matter.
some with 5, you see some with 3. Instantly, you can tell somebody that's got a 3-star rating, they're not as high as somebody that's got a 5-star. Now, with that said, the provision is in law that the board, by virtue of the charities reporting, will earn a star rating based on how they're spending their money. So on a quick picture, because this is provided to the governor's office, legislators, it'll be at the, and they can quickly see, if they want to look quickly, I might have a 2-star, 5-star, so it's a visual that helps pertain. Now, if you didn't bring up, but one of the new columns we have is what we call retained cash. Okay? And whether that gets to the specific yearly profit, but that is cash in the bank from all the previous years, including the most current one. That gives.
That's fine. I
Right,
saw that,
okay.
Tom.
Well, there's only, so in terms of, can we change the format? Always open to suggestions. I take it back, but what's allowed, what's required under law is a 5-star rating. We elected this format to put it all on one page as best we could without it getting too wide. But it's in law, and we're simply following the provision in law as far as really a visual.
But this year you did add the retained cash, you said, and that was by order of your board here?
No, it was just that we've heard enough questions like you're presenting today.
Okay.
This gives a picture of what they've done during the year. What do they got in the bank? And that was really helpful. And I haven't heard, it's still relatively fresh, as you know, going out to the industry. Some people might not like the fact that they got $300,000 in their bank account or $75.
I think that's appropriate.
Well,
I
it's public
commend you, board, for adding
information.
that column. I
Public
think that's fine.
So we'll see, but it's an important element nonetheless of giving a picture of how the charities are fiscally sound or not.
But you guys, Tom, your board posts what, three different types: gross receipts, city receipts, and organization receipts. And could you then, if you have to by law do those 3, can you publish one more click on your website that takes the stars away and moves the column over after allowable expenses and puts a profit column there? Because I think that would be very helpful to citizens as well as groups. As far as the stars, I think that's an ego boost for some of the people in the clubs, or some of the politicians. But I don't think it discloses to the public what the public has a right to see. And reference to the other thing, I'm not going to take too much of your time here, but you're a $2 billion industry, and I've sat on a lot of boards. You know, your board meeting is usually over in a half an hour, and we're only 35 minutes into it right now. When we look at Vadnais Heights, Merrick Incorporated, the charity here, they had net receipts of $4,352,000. I'm going to get my specs on. Bear with me. I'm an old guy. You guys are all young, and they're excuse me. Net receipts of 4.5. 4.35 million dollars, and this is for my audience, after the prizes were awarded, and they had expenses this past year at 54%, which is in the guidelines of your board, I believe. Allowable expenses of $2,381,000. The charity itself, though, was only able to keep $352,000, and the taxes and fees on this organization, if my math was right here from before, was just shy of $2 million in net profit, $1,971,000. And so the charity only was allowed for their mission $353,000. The state of Minnesota got $1,587,212. And back to your point, Tom, as far as retained cash, I think that's appropriate. I commend you guys for adding that column. But they only have $240,000 in retained cash, so that's not a fair a point of net profit. And the stars there of a 4-star rating, I cannot believe there's a charity that, if you base it on net profit, allows the mission of their charity to pay 81% of their net profit to taxes. And a big chunk of this is going to pay off U.S. bank stadium bonds, as well as a huge chunk in the general fund for a non-profit charity. And no one in Minnesota pays more than 9.8%. If you're the richest individual or the richest corporation, and you even got to work your way up to get to 9.8%. And here we're now over 50% for these valuable charities to our community that gives money to organizations and causes. And what I also want...
Now, I don't want to cut you off, but we got other business to take care of.
Sure, but what I'm getting at here is when you look at the taxes and fees at the bottom of your statement this year, it shows taxes and fees were $81 million and net profits were only $70 million. Yet you posted as taxes and fees at 25.9%. Under your accounting procedure, that's correct. I'm not critical of you for that, but I think the public, as well as these organizations, have the right to see that the charities in Minnesota, when you put all their taxation together, are paying in excess of 50% on average, and some up to 80%, Mr. Chairman and Tom and the board. And let's get some clarification of at least one report, eliminate the stars, add another gross receipt one, so the charities as well as the communities and politicians that may look like they're real smart, but to allow this rate of taxation in a state that's fourth from the top in state taxes, but that rate is nothing compared to what we're charging our nonprofit charities. And I'm for taxation of them, but as an unrelated business income tax, that $157 million they made this last year, Mr. Chairman, they only should be paying 9.8% and treated like any other unrelated business, because gaming is an unrelated business, whether it's a VFW, an Elks Club, a Lions Club, and that's what I'm getting at here. And in the process, get us that. I think it's a very reasonable request, because I get so many comments of not understanding this, and the stars, they look at the stars and they'll go, Al, but we're a 5-star organization. I said, it has nothing to do with that. It means you're following procedures on your accounting, right, Tom? That's where you get the stars? Or how do they get their stars?
Well, I direct you and your readers, your viewers, in law, there's a provision for 4-star rating, which includes taxes, paid to the state. So to the extent the taxes help a charity achieve a star rating, I mean, that's in law. So we're following in terms of reporting law. If there's the need to bring about change, you're certainly going to get a neutral approach from the board. But whatever the folks at the Capitol, like them or not, yeah, we'll follow that lead as it relates to the taxes. Included in the report, and I direct this to your viewers as well, is the fact that 8.4% of the licensed organizations, 98 out of 1,161, pay half the taxes. So when you're throwing those big numbers out, that's paid by 8.5% of the orgs. Just let me finish. The other half is paid by the 91%. So what's my point here is there certainly appears to be a disproportionate. The ones that are high taxed because they're making Merrick, you brought up Merrick, and I appreciate you guys letting me the opportunity to elaborate just a little more, and we should move on. But Merrick is the #1 licensed charity. You talked about their net receipts. You misquoted the taxes. You said 80%.
If you use on net profit, it is 81%.
Okay, well, again, for the purposes of taxes are based on net receipts,
It's what?
36.7%. You threw some different numbers out there, but they paid 1.6 million in taxes. And that's out of a gross of 28 million. #1 in the state when it comes to license, number of sites. And the other point to make, if they're taxed as much as they are, and they are, it's based on receipt, they're also looking to add sites. They want to get bigger. So I encourage you to reach out to Merrick. They're the #1 taxed organization, and if they don't like it, then why are they getting?
And I agree with the 28, it's almost 29 million in gross receipts from selling pull tabs and whatever, but they give almost 25 million of that back to the gamblers. And I want you, my audience, and I think you guys in the Gambling Control Board, this is not a tax on gamblers. This is a tax on the mission of these charities. And I don't think there should be a tax on the gamblers at the bar. Because I don't think they'll do it then. Because we're raising a lot of money. You guys are regulating an industry that needs to be regulated, but that is a positive in my view, other than unfortunately the 1% or whatever can't leave it alone and gamble too much, or 5%, whatever it is. But I appreciate the opportunity to come here today, and I hear this concern from organizations themselves that why isn't there a net profit like every other business, whether it's a service or what was the two terms you used, Tom? A service, when you were talking earlier?
Is it a product or a service?
Product or service. Whether it's a
mean,
product or service, then they end up with net profits, and it
Right,
be
but on
taxed like
products,
everybody else.
I don't want to belabor.
Mr. Chair, if I may make the motion to close public comment, I believe that our distinguished guest has made very valid concerns made to the board, and I believe our director has done some very good also responses to explain the board's position, and again, the board's position is unable to affect any state statute. We can only provide our input into it as well. So that's my motion, is to close public comment at this time and move forward.
I'd second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.